aunts and cousins. Power to you. Power to you. Power to you. Her to itself.
Unfortunately, you got to turn up the hearing aids.
Let's welcome our sixth class. To the 6th annual Madison Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This is a special night to celebrate the incredible achievements of our former Daniel Hand High School athletes, coaches, and lifetime contributor. The inductees were chosen amongst an extensive list of nominees and are joining a prestigious list of inductees already honored with highest athletic recognition in Madison. We recognize the unique and extraordinary tradition of excellence from Daniel Hand High School alumni athletes, coaches, administrators, and community members for their contributions. It's my first time doing it. The selection procedure is quite extensive, and anyone can nominate a person for the Madison Athletic Hall of Fame. And once they're nominated, then there is a selection committee that goes over the profile. So if you have somebody to nominate in the future, you need to write up a profile that would be exemplary of this particular candidate, and the committee goes over the list and selects our honorees as we have for tonight. I think we have over 50 on the nomination list right now. It's pretty extensive and very comprehensive. But right at this point, I want to recognize the Hall of Fame committee. So all the committee members that are here tonight, would you please stand? In particular, the head of the selection committee, who does an extraordinary amount of work, is Art Simons. Art, stand up, please. The person that does all of the organization and all of the work, I should say, is our executive committee member, executive director, Chris Lena. Chris, where are you? I want to thank Craig Semple, who actually originated the Hall of Fame here in Madison, and also Tom Banish, our first selectman, who has supported us in every way possible. And our two school officials that we have with us tonight, Principal Daniel Hand High School, I'd like him to stand, TJ Salutary. TJ. And our superintendent of schools, Tom Sclerice. Tom? All right, he left. Well, that's too bad. I was going to tell a funny story. I'll just tell TJ. So, back in the day, when we saw a person that had tremendous value to our school district, we would go to the superintendent and principal and say, I have a friend who is an outstanding teacher, and I know we have an opening. And they would say, well, bring that person in, we'll talk to that person. And there was no national search committee, there were no interviewing committees. If it was a good person that had the background, that person was hired. And I'm pleased to say that two of the inductees here tonight, Steve Filippone and Don Kramer were two of my choices. It was so much simpler back then. I know the problems that we have today, and our superintendent would not interview the person, they would call the person in and say, Steve Filippone, if I asked all hands on deck, will you be on deck? And Steve would say, yes, sir. And that was it. Also, I'd like to recognize our former inductees to the Hall of Fame that are here tonight, quite a few of them. Would you please stand? One of our objectives is to recognize outstanding people that we have, but also to raise money for scholarships for Daniel Han High School students. And last year we gave out our first scholarship, two $1,000 scholarships to a male and female from Daniel Han High School. And we asked for donations in order to support this worthy cause. In the program you will see the levels of donation, and you'll see the people that have donated last year according to level. So if you feel so moved, you can just cut out that portion, send it in with a check, because we'll be doing a scholarship raising campaign in November. So right before tax season, so if you have some extra money from the stock market, and by the way, we'll take stocks as well, we would love to have it. Tomorrow night, the inductees will also be honored at the football game at Strong Field. And also the plaques on the buildings at Strong Field are up, so your names are on the plaque right now. Please walk around the entrance plaza to Strong Field, and you'll see what a great job that has been done there. And the last thing is I want everyone, please stay until the end of the ceremony and show your appreciation, pride, and respect for all of our recipients. Now, here are the 10 people that have given us that sense of spirit and pride that energize our Madison community. 14 feet 4 inches for the school record at the time of Eric's high school graduation. He also held the school record in the 120-yard hurdles. As a sophomore, Eric first broke the school record in the javelin of 175 feet by throwing it more than 6 feet longer than the previous record. He also broke the school record in the 120-yard high hurdles. He often won the javelin, high hurdles, shot put, long jump in the same meet. Eric's most superb accomplishment that season occurred in the Shoreline Conference meet. According to a May 20th, 1974 Shoreline Times article, it says, Eric Elaine of Han turned an incredible performance. He proved last Saturday that he is the Shoreline's most versatile athlete. He won the javelin, placed fourth in the shot to prove his strength. Then he took third in the long jump, edged Fred Brooks of Old Saybrook, the meet's outstanding performer, in the high hurdles to show his speed and agility. Eric broke his own record in the javelin of 206 feet, 10 inches, and actually I was there to witness it. I was at one end of the track and the javelin almost hit me in the foot. I said, who threw that? And in the high hurdles in his junior year. He also won the javelin high hurdles at the Shoreline meet for the second consecutive year. Eric further demonstrated his skills by winning the Class M championship in the javelin. Eric, a culminated event of Jared's junior year was winning the javelin in the Greater Hartford Invitational, which was one of the biggest track meets in the East and featured athletes from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. Of all the individual accomplishments in Eric's track career, he was most proud of being a member of Han's undefeated Shoreline champion in his junior year. At the state level, Eric once again was a Class L champion in the discus, only lost the state open competition on a technicality. I believe he was caught in traffic and he went to the state open meet and they wouldn't give him time to warm up In fact, they said, we'll allow you to take one throw. And I think that one throw got him a second without warming up. He broke his own javelin record again with a throw of 214 feet, which still stands. In the Greater Hartford Invitational, Eric repeated his junior year victory in the javelin, second place in the high hurdles. In the national competition, Eric finished sixth in the javelin at the International Prep Invitational in Chicago and fourth in the Golden West Meet in California. Eric was offered a full scholarship to Florida State University, had a very successful career, setting school records in the javelin in his freshman year of 250 feet. His throw was the longest throw in the nation as a freshman. He attended the NCAA track and field championship as a freshman, placed 11th in the javelin. Eric held the school record for 4 years until the freshman had beat Eric's record by 3 inches. He won the javelin competition in almost every meet which he participated during his college career, and he also won the Florida Relays twice in the javelin division. Perhaps the highlight of Eric's college career was winning the Old Metro Conference title for 3 consecutive years. Eric qualified for the United States Olympic Trials in Eugene, Oregon in 1980, but sadly did not get the opportunity to try out because of President Carter pulled the U.S. out of the Moscow Games due to the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Eric is now the general manager of Grand Harbor Golf Club in Vero Beach, Florida. Eric has married to his wife, Kathy, for 34 years. They met as students at Florida State University. They have 3 children, Kristen, Stephanie, and Nicholas. In addition, they have 2 grandchildren, Kennedy and Jude. They reside in Orlando, Florida. Madison Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to induct Eric Elaine.
Wow, that was pretty impressive. I don't remember a lot of that. I wish I did. You know, it's been great. You know, as you get on in the years, the old Springsteen Glory Days comes back to you, and you know, really, it wasn't much glory days. You get caught up in life, and you know, kids come and everything else, and the last thing you think about is what you were in high school. You know, but thanks for encapsulating that. That was pretty impressive. I was saying that's good stuff. You know, they say the older you get, the better I was, and I think that holds true here. But I've got to tell you, I'm very honored to be a part of this. Madison is where I grew up, idyllic little seashore town. You know, 5,000 in the winter and 10 or 12,000 in the summer, and it was it's a great place, great schools, great people, great coaching, great support. So I'm really honored to have my name at Strong Field on that plaque. I've got to tell you, you know, lifetimes ago, but you know, you just kind of go, yeah, that was okay. That was all right back then. So anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and thanks to all the inductees tonight. You've all done a tremendous job.
Now, Molly Grady. A 2001 graduate, is one of the best lacrosse players ever at Daniel Hand High School. Her speed and athleticism earned her a starting position in the fall of her freshman year in soccer, and then consecutively for her remaining 7 varsity seasons in both soccer and lacrosse. Pat McCahill, Hall of Fame lacrosse coach, remembers that Molly was also a true scholar athlete, meeting high standards of service, citizenship, scholarship, leadership to gain acceptance at the Daniel Hand High School's National Honor Society. As a soccer standout at Daniel Hand, Molly started for Coach Dave Scott. She also played travel soccer in her senior year and was with the Hall of Fame coach Bob Faulkner. Molly was 3-time named All-SCC and was selected by her coach and teammates to be captain for the 2000 season. A leader on and off the field, Molly was a team player and helped elevate the play of those around her. During the spring season, with hand girls lacrosse, Molly had the success and fulfillment that would lead her to pursue playing Division I lacrosse. She was, again, a four-year starter, a senior captain, a three-time all-SEC selection in lacrosse. Molly was recognized as the MVP of the SEC as only a sophomore and all-area MVP as a junior. She then earned all-state, all-area recognition in her senior season as well. Molly was a prolific scorer in lacrosse with a sharp shooting percentage. By 2001, Molly had held the record for most goals in a game, 10, and most goals in a career with 216. Molly played for Hall of Fame head coach Pat McHale and her assistant Hall of Fame coach Jim Flanagan. After hand, Molly continued her lacrosse career as a scholar athlete at the University of California at Berkeley. UCal's prospectus described Molly as an extremely fast athlete who relies on her quickness, a fierce competitor. Molly's speed, athleticism, competitive drive, and her understanding of team empowered her to excel at the Division I level. She was a significant contributor from the beginning and continued to impact the Bears on the field and in the classroom for 4 years at Cal. 2004, the Bears played for the Mountain Pacific Sports Championship, earning second place with Molly being named all-conference and all-academic team, as well as earning the team's Golden Bear Award. As captain her senior year, Molly finished her Berkeley career as the 4th all-time leading scorer with 136 points and with the highest shooting percentage. She was also an all-tournament selection as well as received all-conference and all-academic team honors. Molly's dad fostered and supported her playing career, believing in the tremendous value of athletics. The lessons she honed as a scholar athlete helped Molly build a successful career in medicine and to positively impact the lives of others every day. Dr. Molly Brady graduated from the UConn School of Medicine, is now an ER physician and medical director at Sherman Oaks and Encino Medical Centers in LA, California. She also continues her work as attending physician in the LA Medical Center, where she has completed her residency. Molly is the daughter of Yana Simon and John Brady and the stepmother of Dr. Roberta Isler. Molly and her husband Jeffrey Russell live in Venice, California, where they are raising 2 children, Dorothea Snow Russell, 2 years old, and Henry Wilder Russell, only 6 months old, is here today too. Madison Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to induct Molly Brady.
Thank you. As Eric said earlier, I don't know who that person is. I'm locked down and raising my children right now. Can everyone hear me, or do I need to use this?
Yeah, you can use it. Use it.
So thank you. So thank you for this honor. I really appreciate it. And I'm so thankful that my family is here tonight, although my parents are in Europe, so they're not here, unfortunately. I won't speak for too long, but I want to say a little bit about growing up here in Madison. As I think about raising my 2 children in Los Angeles, I see how very fortunate I was to grow up in a place like this. Not only did I have the support of the community at large, but I had a very supportive family, especially my dad, who was and is my biggest fan. My dad is the one who introduced me to athletics, so I wouldn't be standing up here today if he hadn't passed down his love of sport as well as his athletic genes. I still remember my first day of soccer camp. I was 5, and he dropped me off at the fields on Academy Street, and I vividly remember hating it. I was only 5, but he never let me quit, thank goodness. And as I grew up, sports became an integral part of my life. Not only was I fortunate to have his support, but I lucked out with amazing teammates, some of who I played with and against for 11 and 12 years. Besides my family and teammates, I was also lucky to have coaches like Arlene Burke, Anthony Mancini, wherever you are. Thank you, I'm glad you're here tonight. Coach Scott, Coach Faulkner, and Coach Cahill, to name a few. They collectively shaped me into a tough, disciplined, and successful student athlete. I'll always remember what they did for me, especially how they kept the game fun. And as I stand here today with coaches Philippone, Roberti, Kramer, Coach Ciotti, I am amazed at the length of your coaching careers and how many student athletes you influenced. What you have done for them, for us, is inspiring, and you are the people who really should be honored tonight. I want to finish by saying that high school and college athletics really created some of the best experiences of my life, the best and the hardest. There is no high like beating a top 10 NCAA Division I lacrosse team on your home field, or scoring the winning goal against Guilford while playing at Strong Field under the lights. There's also no better example of the solidarity that comes with flying cross-country for games during spring break, leaving sunny California and all of your friends who are going to Mexico to play lacrosse outside in upstate New York in a snowstorm for 4 years. As silly as this is, I will also never forget the excitement I had when playing powder puff football during my junior and senior years of high school. I remember the game during my junior year. It was held the night before the Thanksgiving football game. After I scored a few touchdowns, the announcer said, "Where's Coach Philippone? You have to get this girl suited up for tomorrow." After he said that, I remember thinking, I wish I could play football. I thought I'd have made a great wide receiver or even cornerback. In fact, my pipe dream of being a pro footballer has followed me around since then. And during a residency interview years ago, when asked what I would do if I couldn't be a doctor, I replied without hesitation and said, an NFL quarterback. I thought I would get points for being imaginative, but while my answer did not impress my interviewer, and despite not having ever started for an NFL team, I could not be happier with my athletic career. In fact, being captain of my D1 nationally ranked lacrosse team is one of my proudest achievements, and is an experience that I'm asked about even now during interviews. And it all happened because of the support I received in this town and the people in this room. So thank you.
Molly, picture now. Get you.
A reminder that all inductees are going to do a group picture on the porch once the ceremony is over, okay? So stay for the group picture on the porch, and Chad Lyons will organize that. Don Kramer knew early on that he wanted to make a difference in the lives of young people as a coach. As a coach and educator for 37 years, we're fortunate that our children of Madison benefited from his coaching and guidance. From a small town in South Jersey, he excelled as both an athlete and a student. Don was a three-sport captain, the school's athlete of the year, and he took second place in the Jersey State Wrestling Tournament. His academic achievements allowed him to enter Gettysburg College, where he wrestled and played football. As captain of the Gettysburg wrestling team, he qualified for the NCAA Division I wrestling tournament on 2 occasions. Don was drafted into the Army upon graduation during the Vietnam conflict. Although he was prepared to go, he was fortunate to be chosen to coach wrestling and football at West Point Prep. After completing his service, he coached both wrestling and football for the next 9 years at Trenton State, Mass Maritime, University of Tampa, and finally the head wrestling coach at Glassboro State. In 1981, the Madison Board of Ed hired Don as a guidance counselor at Hand and for 10 years, and then moved to the middle school where he continues to serve. Don has had an impact on hundreds of students as a counselor and coach of wrestling and football. Don, with the help of Madison teachers, coaches, established a Madison chapter of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes to serve and guide young people in Madison. The chapter flourished under his guidance. Sue Leckie stated, "My time as a student being part of the FCA was one of the most meaningful and enjoyable experiences I've ever had." Don continued his spiritual side by conducting optional and pregame devotionals for the hand football team for over a decade. While at hand, he served as an assistant wrestling coach and assistant football coach. It wasn't until his move to the middle school in 1992 that his greatest impact would be felt. For the next 24 years, Don was the middle school wrestling coach. Here, he encouraged, taught, and supported young middle school children through wrestling. Many of our current Hall of Famers, including inductee Derek Fish, were mentored in wrestling by Don. Derek comments, "He was the consummate teacher, breaking down complex moves and situational awareness into things that we could understand, and then drilling us until we got it right." Don patiently coached every kid with the same passion and love that he gave to his very best performers. He was tough but fair and friendly. His players loved him, and he them. Don Kramer is being inducted because he embodies the purest, most profound skills required by any coach. He has been a difference maker in the lives of every person who crosses his path. Current Hall of Fame wrestling coach Dave DeLessio says, "No person in the history of hand wrestling has had more impact on the lives of our athletes and the program. He is the first name that comes to mind whenever hand wrestling is mentioned." Don lives currently in Clinton with his wife Eileen. He has 3 children, Brian, Aaron, Danielle, along with 7 grandchildren. 2018 class of Madison Athletic Hall of Fame, proud to induct Don Kramer.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here in front of all of you and to be selected by the committee. Thank you so much. In my mid-20s, hitchhiked across country, can't do that anymore. I had kind of trying to find myself. I coached for a little bit. Who am I? And on that trip, I can remember being picked up a couple times and just sharing with somebody like, they actually shared about Jesus Christ to me. And I said, I don't know if Christ was God or me, but I would love to have an impact in people's lives. I so wanted to make a difference. And not long after that, I went to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Coaches Conference and met Larry and Bill. And not long after, Larry gave me a call and said, they have a guidance counselor position open. Would you be interested? And I had just gotten married. And said to my wife, I don't want to go to Madison, Connecticut, do you? And he calls back probably within 10 minutes. He said, I forget what you coach, but they need an assistant wrestling coach. So I took that as a sign that maybe I should go up and check it out. And I've been here ever since. This has been home to my wife and family. Clinton has, but here in Madison, just the support of the community for athletics, for kids, has been amazing. And it continues to grow. And this is an example of that. I'm proud to work in Madison. And I'm proud to have been involved in kids' lives. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. One thing that I probably should confess, at that coaches conference, it was on my honeymoon. And so I wanted to say to my wife, thank you so much for putting up with a coach for all these years. I'm grateful for her support, and I couldn't have done it without her. And thank you again.
Gerald Jerry Dahlberg was one of the best athletes in the Madison history. Certainly one of the best in the 50s and 60s, a star in 3 sports, soccer, basketball, and baseball. He excelled in basketball. His senior year, the team was 10-7 and 4th in the Shoreline League. However, he was considered the best player in the Shoreline League and ultimately selected to the first-team All-State roster. Most All-State players are from the teams making the state finals or semis. Jerry's selection defied the odds as he made it from a team that lost in the quarterfinals. The coaches in the Shoreline League around the state recognized his excellence all around as a defender, rebounder, and scorer, and a 6'2" power forward. From his sophomore year, he was a starter in soccer, basketball, and baseball. He led the soccer team to a 7-3 record in his sophomore year and to the state semifinals, the best in Daniel Hand High School tenure history at the time. The soccer record was improved to 6-1-1 his junior year, and he was an outstanding shortstop pitcher during his high school baseball career. One legendary feat was reported by his friend Dan Mulvey. After high school, while playing in the men's softball league, Jerry hit a home run at Academy Street School field from home plate, which is near Bradley Road, to the roof of Academy School. He was the best power hitter in the league every year. After graduation from Hand, Jerry tried several self-employed business ventures. Eventually he found his calling as a sales rep for a company in Central Florida. Jerry and Barbara are proud to have been the last passengers to fly the Concorde to England, and they returned on one of the last voyages of the Queen Elizabeth II. Their voyage was christened by Queen Mother prior to their trip, which was very a memorable experience for Jerry. Jerry has 2 children, Craig and Kara, both married, with 1 child each. Jerry and his wife Barbara are retired and now live in Central Florida. Unfortunately, Jerry has taken ill and he couldn't come up from Florida, but one of his coaches, Bill Barker, is going to accept for him. Bill.
Slight misunderstanding there. I hadn't been employed by Madison when he played, but I did know of him when I took over as a coach in 1966. Due to unfortunate circumstances, my wife and I are sorry we could not attend the meaningful induction ceremony. First, I wish to congratulate my fellow Madison Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2018 inductees. Fellow class members, cherish this moment, for it's a great town, a big deal in memories. My thanks to Richard Sollett, Dan Mulvey, and Bob Nilsson for nominating me. I also wish to thank the Madison Athletic Hall of Fame Board of Directors and Executive Committee members for all the hard work they do. Finally, my thanks to Bill Barker and Lena for organizational thoroughness and dedication. Have an enjoyable and memorable event, and go Daniel Hand High Tigers. Respectfully, Jerry Dahlberg. I do have 2 anecdotal things that Dick Select shared with me. He played with him and said that there were 2 phenomenal things he remembered. One in football, we had club football at the time, and had pickup games against some teams, and the last one was against New Haven. Now here's this little Madison town with a pickup team against a team much bigger and stronger from New Haven. But it came down to the last big play of the game, and according to Dick, Jerry threw a sidearm pass 60 yards to Dick Select for a winning touchdown. I know why he remembered that event, but but it does speak to the athleticism of Jerry. I'd heard too that if we'd had football at the time, that he might have been an all-state quarterback. He was that kind of an athlete. And another thing was that from 1964 until 72, whichever team got Jerry to play shortstop was the winning team in the league. He was just dominant. So those are two anecdotal things from me. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Duo Dickinson. Exemplary contributor. Madison is extremely fortunate to have a resident Duo Dickinson. He's a world-renowned architect. His induction into the Madison Athletic Hall of Fame as an exemplary contributor to athletics is an honor for this community. In 1977, he graduated from Cornell University in architecture. Duo established his Madison firm in 1987, making an impression on his profession rather quickly. His signature designs have received more than 30 awards, and he's been published in more than 70 publications, including the New York Times Architectural Record and House Beautiful. Duo was the architect critic for the New Haven Register, a writer for the Hartford Courant. He has written 8 books. In addition, he has hosted architectural radio and television broadcasts. Duo is taught at Yale University, Roger Williams University, and is on the faculty of Building Beauty, the Santa Anna Institute in Sorrento, Italy, and serves as co-chair of the American Advisory Board in Sorrento. Duo Dickinson is a giver. He is a man of faith who believes in helping his fellow man. His pro bono work has contributed to the construction of over 75 projects. Madison is a fortunate recipient of one of his projects, the Madison Strong Center at the Surf Club. Duo captured a vision and roughly sketched a primitive but thought-provoking design. 11 years later, the completed Strong Center, one of the finest town athletic facilities in New England, is an exact replica of his initial creativity. His labor of love transformed an unsafe, decaying facility into a safe, state-of-the-art facility to be enjoyed for many years to come by youth and residents of Madison. Duo's foresight demonstrated the success of a $3.2 million private-public partnership project. His professional in-kind donation, financial gifts, and professional courtesy saved the projects at least $180,000 in architectural fees. Duo volunteered his office staff, supplies, and countless hours the last 11 years leading to the completion of Strong Center. Many who know Duo realize that his true love is football. In fact, he was an assistant coach at Brantford High School during the 80s, and he competed against Daniel Han High School at Strong Field. Little did he know at the time that he would inspire and lead a group of people to renovate Harold Strong Field into Strong Center, a venue not only for athletics, but also for the cultural arts. Duo and his wife Liz remained close to hand football, as their son Sam Dickinson was a standout player on the 2009 team. For the past 15 years, Duo and Liz have donated books to each graduating football senior at the football banquet. The book serves as a gift and a reminder to the players of the impact of knowledge. The Bible says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Duo lives this life by this biblical passage. No one truly believes in the significance until it is reflected in the eyes of others. Duo's significance will be reflected in the eyes of children of Madison for many, many years. Duo was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, and beauty. The 2018 Madison Athletic Hall of Fame exemplary contributor, Duo Dickinson.
So now I know I'm dead because I just heard the eulogy. But first, thank you to Chris, Lena, and the board. This has been an amazingly well-organized thing. And thank you to Larry. Larry, your words mean more than you know. You do all know that I played football in Buffalo, New York, right? But I was, as Coach said, I was actually the assistant coach in charge of all of the special teams for the Fighting Football Hornets of Brantford High School, whose incredible record was, I think, 29-51. But being part of football is not why I'm here. Any other reason of what I might have done, or for whatever reason, is not really why I'm here. You, all of you, are why I'm here. When a man I barely knew asked me to help a dozen years ago, there was no option because I knew that Larry Ciotti had given everything, for his entire adult life, now twice, to create a place that he needed to make better. If I could help, I knew it was only because I had been given everything. So I was giving nothing that I owned. When Larry noted all those years ago, what was needed in this complex was 2 Wall of Fames as part of the Hall of Fame. I had coached in that field, and I watched our son play on that field, and I knew that a lot of players were going to play on this new field more than ever before. And I knew that they will all be playing and going in one direction or another. So all those sports, all those men and women that were playing like crazy, would at some point be forced to go towards one end of that field. And when they did, they would be able to face the people who are in this room, many of you, who came before them. And they could actually aspire to be like them. They could see those names on those fields, on that field, because this Hall of Fame made those walls of fame. You made this happen. You did this. That's why I'm here. As a subtext, I turn out to be George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. There was no plan, there was no mission, I'm just here. It's 38 years, 34 years, and I become somehow part of this place with you. It has become part of me. You tonight are part of me. Somehow we're all here together. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, right? We're all here together in this place, doing this thing for people that give everything. They give everything, Coach. They give everything because something's more important than you or me. I never asked for it, or was anything really asked of me. I just ended up here, and I will end up here. So thank you is a wholly and adequate reply to this gift, but it is all that I have. I'm essentially a warm-up act for one of the great men that I know, Coach Phil. But in the interim, thank you.
Steve Philippone. In 1979, a young man from Bricktown, New Jersey, came to Madison. As a graduate of Southern Connecticut State University, he had hopes of inspiring young people in our town through education and athletics. Steve Philippone was hired at Daniel Hand High School as a special education teacher and assistant football coach. 10 years later, he earned the position of head football coach, not knowing at the time that he would become one of the most influential educators and coaches in the history of Daniel Hand High School. From 1989 to 2016, his fierce competitive spirit transcended to his players, while he accomplished feats unparalleled by any other in Connecticut and all throughout New England. In his 28 years as head football coach, Steve achieved a record of 223 wins, only 82 losses, and 5 ties. A winning percentage of 72%, 4 undefeated teams, 7 Connecticut state championships. Steve is the winningest coach in the history of Hand High School. However, he's also the losingest coach. Championships in 1989, his first year, 1997, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2012, and 2013. The 97 team, the 2004 team, and the 2013 team were voted the #1 teams in Connecticut by the state sports writers. Steve took an established football program and brought it to the next level. His expert coaching and motivational skills vaulted Hand into rarefied air. Steve's efforts evaluated Hand football not only at the state level, but also in the New England top 10 polls. Opposing coaches feared playing a Steve Philippone coach team. Some coaches referred to a statement once made of Paul Bear Bryant, the famous Hall of Fame coach at Alabama. It was said that, and Ray Zell, where's Ray?
Roll, Tide, roll.
Ray Zell can relate to this. This is what they said of Bear Bryant. He could take his'n and beat yawn. And then he could take yawn and beat his'n. This was the respect that Steve attained. Steve has received several prestigious coaching awards during his tenure. 2010, induction into the Connecticut Coaches Association Hall of Fame, the Bricktown Hall of Fame, the National High School Coach of the Year, Walter Camp Coach of the Year, Connecticut Coach of the Year, 3-time Football Foundation Coach of the Year, and the Doc McInerney Award of the Year for sports as selected by the Connecticut sports writers. In addition, for 14 years, he served as chairperson for the Football Coaches Committee and president of the executive board and the Coaches Association. He also served as chairperson for the Connecticut and Rhode Island All-Star Football Game. Steve always strived to uphold the high standards of Hand High School football, sacrificed family events for his team, and devoted his life for the betterment of Madison youth. His teams always displayed uncanny efforts on the field, representing foremost the prestige, the winning traditions, and the brotherhood of Hand football. His influence on his players is difficult to measure as he affected so many who needed him on and off the field. At any time of day or in the wee hours of the night, Steve never wavered in his commitment to assist his soldiers. 39 years later, the town of Madison, the Madison Athletic Hall of Fame are honored and privileged to induct an outstanding human being that made his life accountable, Steve Philippone.
a great job Larry's doing as our MC.
But you're out of work next year, so. You're out of work. So I want to thank everybody else who shortened their time because I intend to use all the time that you have. This is like one of those Senate hearings. I yield my time to Philip. So yeah. It would be impossible for me, in fact, to thank everybody and do what I'd like to do tonight in the 3 or 4 minutes allotted to me by the Ray Ezel Golly Bum rule. Some of you, that went over a lot of heads. If you weren't here last year, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'll do my best to offer some simple thank yous. If you played for Larry or I, please stand up. Stand up. Where are you? Give those up. Right? If you want to sit down now, that's enough. Thank you. If you want to know why I'm here, that's as far as you've got to look. Great young men. People who believed in what we were trying to do. Who understood the great commitments and understood what it took to be something special. So this community has cared for my wife and I and my boys in ways that, you know, are way too many to speak of. You've given me so much more, quite honestly, than I could ever return to you. But the one thing I want to say is that all of those accolades are nice, and you know, winning championships is a great thing, and we're all excited about it. But really, as I move forward in my life, the things that matter to me most have nothing to do with winning. Nothing to do with winning. I'm glad that we're able to do it. I'm glad that we're able to keep a program alive. But what I cared most about was that the boys that were in my charge knew every day that they were loved and respected by me, by our coaches, and that we honored them for their commitment and sacrifice to the deep tradition that was Gant High School football. That's what matters. That's what should matter to all of us. That is the essence of what it is to be a coach. Now, if you coached with me, or Larry, stand up. There's a bunch of you in here. You too. You did. Right? That's another reason why I'm here. Because I learned a long time ago that the path to greatness comes when you surround yourself with great people. When you're surrounded by people who are even better than you at what you do. People who want to be you. That's when you can fly high. So I want to give a couple of thanks out to people that are really important to me. I'm going to start with my mom. My mom was going to be here. She's 88 years old. About 2 weeks ago, she tripped and fell. She broke her humerus. She can't be here, but she's a tough hombre, let me tell you. She lives alone at 88. She fell. She broke her arm in the middle of the night. It took a day and a half before she called my brother who lives 20 miles away and said, hey, get over here. Something's wrong with you. Right? It took her a day and a half of suffering before she did it. So I believe that we're all governed, all of us, by an inner moral compass that early on in our lives, we're all set to true north, right? Every one of us has a true north. Where do we find out what that true north is? We find out what true north is by looking at the people around us. That little guy in there, that little girl back there, they're going to look around at all of us, and they're going to see how we act. And that's how they're going to set their moral compass. Well, my moral compass was set around a couple of things. One, that love is unconditional. 2, that anything but working as hard as you can was not an option, and that service to others had to be a priority in my life, and I learned each one of those from my mother. Each one of them from my mother. She was that person who cemented
There you go. People, there is a bet somewhere out there. There's a bet out there somewhere. Andrew's got it. There you go. But I'm going to be good. My dad passed away a bunch of years ago. I know you're listening because you always do. And you know, the one thing about Dad was he taught me what it was to be a father, to accept responsibility. He wanted to ensure that someday I'd be a good man, a good father, and an adequate husband. So I know he's watching, and I hope he's not disappointed. I don't think he is. The moment your children are born, your life changes forever. You suddenly become a father. I became a father. I had no idea how I'd survive it. My kids would be asleep in the bassinet, you know, sleeping there, and I was afraid that they weren't. I'd go wake them up in the middle of the night, shake them. They'd wake up. Kevin, he'd start crying, screaming. A string of invectives would come out of the bedroom from my wife that would make a sailor blush. Oh, and if you don't know her, you laughing for the wrong reason. She should let one out once in a while. You do. It's amazing what comes out of that little girl's mouth. But I grew out of that and moved on to normal parenting. But I had a great chance. I got to coach my sons. I got to coach Kevin and Tommy. They were both terrific athletes, great kids, but they've become better men as I've watched them grow. And a friend of mine said, he sends me a little note every Father's Day. He says, the only thing better than being called coach is being called dad. Love you, buddy. And last but not least here, well, actually I got two more, real quick. But my bride over here of 36 years, I think. Am I right? 36? Only 35. Sorry. So, you know, Donnie Kramer, Larry Ciotti stood up for my wife and I when we were married. And they stuck around all this time to make sure I didn't screw it up. So that's but the other day, I work now at Wesleyan. I'm really proud of it. I'm proud to be coaching football again at Wesleyan. And we have a great group of kids. And I coach running backs, and the running backs, the Wesleyan University takes great pride in the fact that they claim they have a picture from every athletic team over the last 100 years that they've been competing, since photography became regular. And so my wife is a Wesleyan graduate. She was also the captain of her swim team. So I grabbed my five running backs and I said, go out. The first one to find her picture on the wall, I'll buy you a pizza. 10 minutes, they ran, you should have seen them go. They were like, what kids will do for a little bit of food. They ran out. About 10 minutes later, this kid named Glenn Smith came back and he said, Coach, I found her. And he took me to that picture, and I looked at that picture on the wall, and here in this hideous black and white checkered bathing suit is my bride. And really, I told her this at the time. I called her that night, and I said, you know, when I saw the picture, I was really struck by an emptiness, and it was weird, and it took me a while to figure it out. But as I thought about it, I finally figured it out. It said, and it's just going to sound strange, but that she had a life before me. It was weird. I felt like she had a life before me. I felt like somehow I'd been cheated. That I'd been cheated. Because honestly, honey, the only life that matters to me is the one that started the day. And finally, lately the man everybody wants on their team, okay? If they have to get a project finished, whether starting a football program, building the surf club facility, raising cash for his alma mater now at Southern Connecticut. No matter what it is, just like the TV show, you better call Larry. But of all those projects, I submit to y'all tonight that the single most challenging project he ever undertook is standing before you tonight, right here. The single most difficult project. From the moment I rolled into town at his request, I was so many rough edges, so many things that needed to be smoothed out. He took that rough brick and mortar of what was a punk kid from South Jersey, and slowly and methodically over years smoothed out the edges into what today is, I hope, a decent man. Everything I've accomplished as a coach and member of this community, I owe to our relationship. Every bit of it. And an overpowering wish, which every one of us should have, to never disappoint you. Never. You are someone who obviously is very special to me. Newton said, "If I've seen the world more clearly than others, it is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants." You are my giant. You're my hero. I love you. And I'm almost done, I promise. Finally, being a coach is not much different than being a father, a husband, a CEO. We're asked to make difficult choices that impact people we care deeply for. Some of them work, some of them don't. All we can do is make sure that our compass remains anchored to our true north. Standing by that compass does not guarantee you anything. Doesn't mean you'll get home safe. Doesn't mean the trip will be free of problems. In this business, your faith is going to be shaken, your motives questioned. Yet, like my favorite guy, Sisyphus, and if you know the story of the great rock roller, you will push your rock up the hill each and every day, never quite reaching that place of rest, but rather than discard that burden, you'll embrace it. Great coaches embrace the burden. We ask for it. We want it. Bring it on. Bring it on. That's what we're there for. A coach's role is to be that person in a young boy or girl's life who brings clarity and purpose to the journey, not the destination. The best among us make certain that winning is always viewed as a byproduct of preparation, and that service to one another in a worthy cause is the highest form of commitment. It is our task to never accept a child where he is or she is, for if we do, we almost always will make them worse. Instead, if we elevate them, if we place them above our expectations, we give them the opportunity to see in themselves what they are capable of becoming. We must always trust that our efforts are never in vain, even when the results seem to merit that. For our commitment must be a marathon, not a sprint. And the results may take a while to show themselves, but have faith that they will. I've become a fan of one bit of poetry. It's very short, but I want to share it. It's from Tennyson, from Ulysses. I read it last year about when I was speaking up here about Fosbagnoli, and it really applies to all of us who are kind of on that end stage of our career as a coach. And he says this, he says, "Though much is taken, much abides, and though we're not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and never to yield." Thank you, and God bless you.
Derek Fish. Derek was a three-time conference champion, winning his weight class during his sophomore, junior, senior years. He was a three-time Class L place winner as a sophomore and winning the state championship as a junior and senior. Derek's success continued at the State Open, where he placed as a sophomore. He reached the finals of the State Open as a junior and senior. His senior year, Derek won the 145-pound weight class and became Connecticut Open champion. As he entered the New England tournament, he became the New England champion as a senior. Most impressive was the manner in which he won the New England. Derek did not allow a single point scored against him in the entire tournament. You compare that to pitching a no-hitter during a championship game. For this accomplishment, he was voted Connecticut Wrestler of the Year. Derek continued to build his athletic resume during college. He attended Dartmouth College, which does not have a wrestling program, so he decided to play rugby. Dartmouth was a top 10 national Division I team. By the end of his freshman year, Derek was starting for Dartmouth in the national championship. He became an All-American in rugby, and his Dartmouth team won the national championship during his junior-senior years. He led all scorers and was named All-Tournament Team. His high school coach, Dave DeLessio, went on to say how Derek's impact on the hand wrestling program far surpassed the 4 years that he was part of the program. Derek set the bar so high while he was captain that each captain that came after him emulated his example. Derek currently lives with his girlfriend Julie in Chicago and works as a vice president of acquisitions at Real Term Logistics. The Madison Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to induct Derek Fish to the class of 2018.
Try not to knock over the notes here. I'll be brief. Coach Philippone rightfully used a tremendous amount of time, but what that speaks to, honestly, is the Madison sports community, and Coach Philippone and many in this room have been a part of it for a very long time, and it's something that I'm especially proud of to be on that board and inducted in the same class as Coach Philippone and all the other inductees. There are many in this room, Coach Capola, Coach Kramer, Coach Becker, others that I've played for in other sports, and it's a testament to this community and what I feel most proud about as a Madison athlete. So thank you to them, all those coaches here and the committee and everyone that puts this on. It's a tremendous thing. I think where this begins and ends for me also is my parents. They're over here, Austin and Susan. For any of you that know them, be careful. Susan's probably still ready to get in a wrestling match. They're as competitive as they come, and it's them that introduced me to sports and taught me that practice makes perfect, and that what sports are about it's striving for perfection in everything you do, and that's embodied in this Madison sports culture. I learned it as a young age. It was nurtured through my upbringing, and I was lucky enough to wrestle for Coach DeLessio, who I was inducted last year and rightfully is in the Hall of Fame. He's a tremendous coach. I owe all of my success to his guidance. We goofed around a lot, but we also were very serious, and we're lucky enough to have a lot of success. So I did want to say thank you, Coach DeLessio, Coach D, in front of everybody. I truly appreciate it. So, I think that's really it for me. This is a tremendous honor to be inducted with these folks that have been involved in the Madison community for far longer than I, and I hope that it continues to have the same impact on my life that it feels at this moment and clearly has to many folks in this room. So thanks very much.
The over and under for Steve Philippone, by the way, for crying was 5. And I think John McGee won that one. Melissa McBean, a dynamic 3-sport athlete from the class of 1993, was lightning fast, graceful, and poised on the fields of competition throughout her high school career. Her quiet demeanor made her a pleasure to coach, and her humility made her a remarkable teammate. Melissa earned 11 varsity letters at hand in soccer, basketball, and track. She then continued her soccer career at Dartmouth, earning all Ivy for 4 seasons, which is incredible, before she played semi-pro and professional soccer. The soccer field is where Melissa's passions and talents were fostered to their greatest potential. It was what she spent her time doing before, during, and after Daniel Hand. While at Hand, Melissa was a 4-year varsity starter for Coach Dave Scott, earning all Shoreline, all-state for 3 seasons. The team was runner-up in the state tournament, and in 1991, Melissa helped the Hand team to a league title while earning all New England recognition in her senior season. The Hand soccer team was 15-1-2. Melissa scored 32 goals and assisted on 20 others. She scored a record 90 goals by the time her high school career ended. She added All-American to her honors that year, and it was featured in Sports Illustrated Faces in the Crowd for her offensive dominance. She was also a terrific basketball player and a wonderful track athlete. Melissa selected Dartmouth College to study and to compete in Division I soccer after her Daniel Hand High School career. At Dartmouth, Melissa was both Rookie of the Year, All-Ivy MVP in her freshman season. She went on to earn All-Ivy honors again for the remaining 3 seasons. Melissa was designated an All-American at the collegiate level her senior year and earned a spot on Dartmouth's Ivy League Silver Anniversary team in 1997. She had become one of the Dartmouth College's most accomplished women's soccer players. Melissa continued her soccer career in semi-pro with the Boston Renegades, and she was drafted in 2001 in the inaugural class of the Women's Professional Soccer League with the New York Power. Melissa is one of those players who only comes along once in a lifetime, says David Scott. She is the quintessential professional. She will do whatever it takes for the team to win, but she isn't selfish in any way. She is absolutely the best sort of team player. This is obviously one reason Melissa had so much success in the game in 2006. Melissa was inducted into the Connecticut Girls Soccer Coaches Association Hall of Fame in the same class as Coach Scott. Melissa is the daughter of Cynthia and Carl McBean, who are her greatest fans, along with her brother Jason, also an exceptional Hand and Dartmouth athlete. Melissa still plays soccer for fun. She lives outside of Baltimore, Maryland, with her wife Nadine, and has a career in the insurance industry. Madison Athletic Hall of Fame 2018 class, proud to induct Melissa McBean.
I do want to begin by congratulating my fellow inductees. This is an incredible class. I have many people to thank, and I'm going to apologize in advance for those I've missed. First, to the committee, thank you for this award and acknowledging my past contributions to Madison Athletics. It's truly an honor to be recognized in this way with this event. Thanks to Christina for being instrumental in organizing this event, Coach Sue for putting together my bio. I'd also like to thank all my coaches and teammates who gave me a sense of belonging in each sport I played. Without them, my awkward teenage years would have been that much more awkward. And now to my family, because as Billy D. Williams said in the film Mahogany, success is nothing without someone you love to share it with. So to my wife, thanks for being the someone with whom I could share my success. Though you weren't there in my life during my so-called glory days, thank you for humoring us as we reminisce. And thank you for supporting me as I still try to recapture those glory days on Friday nights when I run off to play over 30 co-ed soccer or train to run the turkey trot. I'd also like to thank my brother, who was the ultimate training partner. In terms of speed, he was second to none, and in terms of skill, he always exemplified the next level to which I could aspire. Together, we would venture on the road and test our endurance during 5-mile runs to and from the high school. We also trained in our backyard for hours, taking shots, practicing our moves, juggling, and playing one-on-one. As a younger sister, one-on-one in particular often ended in me losing. So from him, I learned the art of losing gracefully. But he also generated the drive to win because I learned that losing was no fun. Most importantly, thank you to my parents. They both worked very hard to put the bill of living here in this expensive town of Madison so that my brother and I could establish a great foundation for our education. Despite both of them working full-time, mom often nights and weekends as a nurse, dad as a salesman, often racing home from New Jersey, they coordinated their schedules to ensure I had at least one representative at my soccer and basketball games and my track meets. They did this even when many times I thought I was too cool to acknowledge their presence. Over there. Nonetheless, they always believed in me and let me know I had made them proud. And they challenged me to do my best without ever making me feel like I had to win in order to be loved, or adding so much pressure that I might lose my passion for athletics. They instilled in me the gift of discipline, which enabled me to do the things necessary to succeed. For example, the ability to sit still and listen so I could truly absorb the lessons of my coaches, and the ability to endure the endless repetition of tasks, i.e. practice, 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 until I perfected my craft. So again, thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything you've done for me. Your love, guidance, and support have been the secret ingredients of my success.
Gigi knee crash. Yeah. Is a 2005 graduate of Daniel Hand High School and is the epitome of what Hand Athletics is most proud of. A natural leader, she captained both field hockey and softball teams and earned 8 varsity letters. She also played trombone in the band for Rich Fasano and was a Friday night flag squad member, demonstrating the true Tiger pride that we value so much. As a student athlete, Gigi was a favorite of younger kids in the town, and she was a terrific role model for aspiring hand competitors. In field hockey, Gigi was an impact player from her freshman season. Although she was a defender, her fair shot put her in the top 10 in scoring for the SCC in her junior and senior seasons, finishing a career scoring with 49 points. Gigi was honored as an All-SEC, All-State, and New Haven Register All-Area player in 2003 and 2004. She was invited to play in the Senior All-Star Game. As captain of the 2002 team, the Hand Field Hockey completed its best season to date, compiling a 15-3-1 record, another SCC title, and a repeat trip to the Class M semifinals. Coach Sulecki recalls that Gigi played her heart out every day, which brought the best in everyone on her teammates. On the softball field, Gigi was known to crush the softball as well as chase down challenging fly balls, playing 4 years as a center fielder and batting third in the order. Her career batting average was .344. She was recognized as Coach's All-State for 3 years. During her 4 seasons in softball, her team made 3 semifinals and 2 final state tournaments. After leaving Hand, she continued her field hockey career as a scholarship player University of Maine. Academically, Gigi was on the Dean's List, the America East Academic Honor Roll, accepted in Kappa Delta Phi, Educational Honor Society and Phi Alpha Theta, and the History Honors in the graduating in 2007 from UMaine. Gigi is currently a third grade teacher in Santa Monica, California, where she has lived since 2011. She also spent a year teaching at the Achievement First Bridgeport Academy, where she fostered the love of learning for inner city middle students. Gigi indulges in summertime leisure with her greatest fans, her parents, Gina, Mike Necrash, her grandfather Pop-Pop, her sisters, nieces, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Madison Athletic Hall of Fame, 2018 class, Gigi Necrash.
First, I would like to say thank you to the committee. Madison is known for its outstanding athletic programs, and I am humbled to be among the other honorees tonight. I also want to say congratulations to the other inductees. It is such an honor to be standing beside each and every one of you. Coach Lucky, you have always been a role model for me. You taught me dedication, perseverance, and love for the game. My freshman year, I wasn't anywhere close to being on varsity team, but with your encouragement, I worked my butt off to make the team and eventually the starting roster. Your dedication as a coach inspired me to work hard, and I've tried to emulate your positivity and passion in both my job and in my life. Some of my favorite memories from high school were from field hockey season, and that is a testament to your energy and love as a coach. Coach Ezel was my coach throughout my entire softball career. I started going to his camps when I was 9. He was my summer ball coach, and he was my high school softball coach. Coach Ezel, thank goodness for you. Not only did you mold me into the best softball player I could be, but you also helped me develop the thick skin needed to make it through Division I field hockey and throughout life. When I showed up to practice on the first day at UMaine, every other freshman cried at least once because they felt like Coach was yelling at them. I was looking around confused and couldn't quite figure it out because to me I felt like Coach was just talking to them. You taught me the value of constructive criticism, and it made me a better player, and I'm forever grateful for that. However, I would not be standing here today if it were not for my family. Not only did they support me, but they taught me what it meant to be a true athlete. In all honesty, I am the lazy one of the family. Some of my favorite activities include napping and watching TV, but both of my big sisters showed me what it meant to be driven and passionate. They both like to run for fun, so they would drag me along on their long runs to help me get in shape for field hockey season. My sister Maggie was the senior on the field hockey team when I was a freshman, and every day of practice I would watch the intensity that she brought to every drill and every sprint. She truly inspired me to work harder. And by the way, I also remember the time that she left me at the field hockey field. She simply forgot I was on the team and took off as I was bringing in the water jug and had to wait 10 minutes longer for her to remember and come back and pick me up. My sister Anne Marie not only helped me train for preseason, but was also one of my biggest fans. Whether it was taking a weekend out of summer to watch me play summer ball or driving from college to surprise me at a high school game, she was always there to support me. In the Necrash household, sports were a priority, and my parents did everything in their power to help us win. We are a very superstitious family, so my dad wore the same exact outfit for every single playoff game, and my mom would wake up at 5 in the morning to make the same kind of muffins because they were lucky. My parents were my biggest fans. I don't think they ever missed one of my games in high school or college. It was not a fun drive up to Orono, Maine. It was 6 hours of pine trees and the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit that was very hard to follow. But they made the drive anyway. My junior year, I had a season-ending injury, but my parents didn't stop coming to support me. My dad taught me to love the game and to always have fun. From a very young age, he would take me to the softball field and practice for hours with me. We played several different games that helped hone the skills, but in all honesty, the best part was just having fun with my dad. And because of him, I always played sports for fun, and it was never seen as a chore or a job. I've been a teacher for 8 years, and what I learned on the field has carried through to my classroom. As a Daniel Hand Tiger, I learned perseverance, teamwork, and good sportsmanship, and I try to instill these in my students every day. A day doesn't go by where I'm not saying one of Coach Ezel's sayings like golly bum or mercy, or trying to emulate Coach Leck's passion in the classroom. Every now and then I will play kickball at recess, or I'll be on a team for the floor hockey tournament, and the kids know that I am definitely one of the more competitive teachers. I can't help it. I was always taught, my dad always said, if you keep score, you play to win. On the other hand, they also know that bad sportsmanship will not be tolerated. There is no crying, and there definitely is no arguing with the ref. I am very grateful that I had the opportunity to grow up and play sports in Madison, and I will forever be a Daniel Hand Tiger. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Before I introduce our last inductee, a reminder, we want the inductees, when the ceremony's over, to be on the porch. Chad is going to take a picture on the porch. We're still going to do that, Chad, right? Yep. Okay. And so we'll get that done. And on your table is the words to the Tiger fight song. So after this last induction, we're all going to stand up and show our pride. Bob Roberti. Few sports require the kind of diversity needed to coach track and field. 18 different events, and you need to know them all as a coach. Combine that knowledge with great passion for the sport, and you admire the success of Robert Roberti. He has had in his decade-long career as track coach at Daniel Hand High School. Over his 25 years, Coach Roberti won 13 Shoreline Championships, 8 Hammonasset Division Championships. One of the most notable achievements is the fact that he never lost to Guilford in 25 years. One great thing that he instituted was the Freshman Invitational Track Meet. One of the most successful invitationals in the state. Next year will be the 43rd Hand Freshman Invitational. And this has given young freshmen, aspiring boys and girls, a chance to shine. Bob developed that event. Tim Gary, a longtime assistant to Coach Roberti, says he was great at looking at a kid and letting him know what they could do to get better. He was a great mentor to Tim. Bob was born in San Giorgio, Italy. His family immigrated to the U.S. in 1956. His dad passed on soon after they arrived. He grew up in Brantford with his older sister and brother. His 30-year career teaching physical education and coaching in Madison began at the Jeffrey School in 1973. Athletic director at the time, Bob Duncanson, hired Bob to be the boys cross-country coach and boys track assistant, working for head coaches Warren Miller and then later Larry Halley. In 1980, Bob became the head track coach. 2018 Madison Athletic Hall of Fame is proud to induct Bob Roberti.
Before I start with thank yous, I want to regale you with a brief story of how I first met Larry Ciotti and Bill Barker. I was a first-year teacher And I was 23 years old, and I wanted to play basketball in the rec league. And they said, okay, well, you can play with the teachers team, which is a bunch of high school coaches and guys, and they were always the best team, of course. And so I got a chance to sit on the bench while they played, and I said, nah, that's not what I want to do. So I was fortunate enough to have a young man who had a construction company by the name of Billy Abbott. Not that young anymore, but he still looks good. But Billy's team needed a player, so I said, oh good, I can still jump, I can still move, and I was pretty active. So I remember we both teams came down to the final. We were both undefeated the year, and I remember saying, okay, I really want to show these teachers and coaches up. So I'm going to get the ball. I took off on a fast break, and I'm going to dunk the ball, so I can still jump then. And next thing I knew, I got up in the air, I was ready to dunk the ball. Next thing I remember was splattered against the back of the wall, arms and legs spread out. This guy gets up and goes, hi, I'm Larry Ciotti, how are you? That was a fun, enjoyable adventure. I didn't know they had that much contact until they won Larry and Bill. But let me get on with the thank yous first of all, and then I'll try to keep this brief. I want to thank Larry and the committee for this great honor. I'd also like to thank and congratulate the fellow inductees, both present and past, and especially to Steve and Don. To be inducted with two great coaches as part of the Madison family there's no higher honor. So, thank you, all of you. Oh, that's the other story I want to tell. For 20 years, Tuesday and Thursday mornings, we would get up at 5:30 in the morning, and coaches, administrators, dads, former players, trying to push Dave DeLessio around. It's a physical impossibility, no matter how strong you are, because he knows how to get low and how to move people. But we would get up to play basketball at 5:30 in the morning for an hour or two before school, and that went on for 20 years. And Jim Coyne did a great job of getting us there and getting us into shape. And I think that creates kind of like what we have in Madison, and why the athletics as well as the academics are as strong as they are. You have that camaraderie, you have that warmth, you have that brotherhood, sisterhood. The other portion is the parents and the athletes. I know Steve was really proud to have his kids stand up. I'm going to ask the same thing about the kids that I taught and that I coached. So if you wouldn't mind, would you please stand up if you're one of my former coaches or students? There's a few of you here. Thank you. Thank you. And that leads to my, I think one of my favorite points of being a coach and a teacher in Madison is not many people have the opportunity to have what I had. And that was to work with kids, starting out with kindergartners. There's nothing like dealing with a kindergartner that just wet his pants, and you're a 23-year-old kid. How do you deal with this with 23 other kindergartners standing around? And not what you have to say to them. But I had the experience of watching great athletes, not only Melissa and my own boys and Jimmy Bell, and I'm going to miss somebody, I apologize, but to watch them grow from being 7, 8 years old. I told Jimmy before I came in here, we walked out of our car, and I hear, hey coach, and I turned around, and there's Bell, and all I can remember is his face, Scotty Schweitzer, and John Milam, all in the same first grade class. And I'm sitting there trying to entertain the rest of the class, while these three wild men are just running ragged everywhere, having a great time. But we'll never forget those times. I appreciate it, and I just really feel fortunate to have that opportunity. I want to go on to thank a bunch of people, and I'll try to keep it short, since Steve is football all the time. That's right.
I yield some.
All right, thanks. Another coach that I worked with, not directly, but ever since high school, Frank Barron, is an old friend. Frank and I played football against each other in high school, and he was always a dear friend and a sweet person. I just want to say a prayer going out to Frank, and it was great having him as a competitor and as a fellow coach. The Halley brothers, two of which are here, I grew up with, Larry and Dan. Larry was a mentor for a while, along with Warren Miller when I first started coaching. Did a super job of getting us ready. The Abbott family, I mean, I could go on for a couple thousand names, and I wouldn't be able to cover everybody's. I just want to say thank you to everybody in that aspect. I had 2 terrific assistant coaches. As you heard Larry mention, 18 events is a little bit difficult when you're dealing with a pole vaulter and a 5,000 meter runner and a hurdler, and you got these tailbacks that have, you know, heads on them that are real large and real strong, and real powerful, like my stepson Ned and his brother Sean and Jimmy and Bobby Abbott. You got these athletes that really make you work your tail off. But to do that properly, you need the proper assistance. And luckily, I had Tim Gary as an assistant, who's now a successful head coach. I want to give him a big thank you, as well as Dave DeLeese, who did a great job with my throwers for a few years. I appreciate that. And 2 other people I want to mention were Bill Garber and Tim Brennan. Tim owns a successful restaurant down in Squamish, and Bill was just an amazing guy. He was like a grandfather to my 2 boys. Bill was 76 years old. He'd come to practice every day and talk to everybody on the golf course at the Madison Country Club how great a program we had, the track and field program. But he'd be out there at 76, 77 years old, raking the long jump pit, making sure the kids behave themselves, and putting up with a lot of, you go ahead, Dad, you can say, yeah. No, but he was just an amazing guy, and he was just a sweetheart. And, he had that Southern gentleman flair, so it was like having Ray Zell out there teaching everybody how to long jump properly. But those 2 guys were fantastic, along with Warren. Cool. So, Larry, I already said. My family. As you heard Larry say, I was born in Italy, San Giorgio, and became over. My big sister Maureen, she doesn't want me to say big sister. When I say that, I get the daggers coming out of her eyes. And my brother Joe were very instrumental in helping us form a great family unit. My mom, Lena, really did all the work. She was super, so she's up in heaven. And Steve, I may tie you for the tears.
Best cook in America, too.
What's that?
The best cook in America,
Best
too.
cook in America, that's for sure. I can't go to an Italian restaurant. It's all right. It's like eating ketchup. I mean, come on. As the Halley brothers will attest. Okay. The kids, Ned and Sean, after 15 years of being a teacher and a coach, I thought I knew it all. Didn't have a clue. As soon as I got married to their mom, I found out what real life was about. Going home after practice and having the 2 boys analyzing what we did wrong, what we did right on the track, and what needs to be done was very good. And their mom, Mary, was a saint for putting up with us. So I want to say thank you to her, your sister Katie, my 4 grandkids. I'm very fortunate now that I have a lovely lady in my life, Libby Evans, and her mom, Mary Ellen Klink. What should I say? I can't say former politician. You're still a politician, right? Maybe 3 years and she's a teenager at heart, so. But thank you to all of them for coming and for sharing this great honor. And I want to thank the board. And that's it. Thank you.
Make sure he calls everyone out.
All right, so I'd like all the inductees to come up here, and as they come up here, what an incredible class that we have 2018. Let's give them all a hand. Let me have everybody up here. Where's the rest of them? We have 9 that are here. Come on up. Take out your song sheets. Gigi should know it. Are we ready? Let's show our spirit and pride for Daniel Han High School Athletics. Right now. Here we go.
Music?